Good morning, America. This is Monday, the 15th of February, Sydney time. So you will be waking up in the early hours of Valentine's Day when you get this message. As I was talking about losing my hind of my back on December 1st, I would like to skip 2 days ahead to December 3rd, 2017. Now, this story is going to involve illicit substances of the herbal kind. I do have regrets about this instance in which I used marijuana, ganja, the herb. Because if I didn't partake, I wonder and postulate whether this sacking of my inner kingdom would have happened or occurred. So it was December 3rd, it was in the afternoon. I had rolled a couple of spliffs, joints, and I was going to go on a bushwalk at Mount Kringai, the Benowie Track, which is on the western side of Pacific Hwy, near the overpass. And I had parked on the highway, on the Pacific Highway, and I was simply going to go down to the bottom of the ravine on a bit of a recon mission to assess the area and see if I could get away with a sneaky joint. I was not dressed for a bushwalk. I was not dressed for a bush bash. I was wearing sneakers, anklet socks, and carrying half a bottle of Coke Zero. And I was kind of hoping that the terrain would kind of deter people from following me around in the bush, where they have this magnetic attraction to snuff out anything human, a heartbeat, the smell of spirit, supernatural light, essences, these forces that I have been going up against for the past 16 years are really diametrically opposed, two opposites. But in my case, you find it's not really us versus them, it's us doing everything we can to survive and letting them have their way. This is how I see the past 16 years in the Catholic Church as a Catholic. there's no point in me being religious anymore. I'm a sacked, defeated ruin. I'm still alive, and that's the only thing that they want to take from me, is the last spark of divine light. Watch it slowly dim to be extinguished. They want to watch that in my eyes. They want to put it on camera on HBO subband channel. They want to broadcast my death around the world. This is how my life becomes. It gives people meaning, to let them know that they're sacking someone that is the force of He, someone that is divine, supernaturally charged, a powerhouse of supernatural energy. And this day, that supernatural energy was extinguished, and it was the light within was put out, the kingdom within was sacked, and because that Him did not defend me. He looked at the Son of God in the South Hemisphere in a shithole town called Sydney and said, that guy, him, he can go to hell. Hymns are the words, because I can't, unless I'm in a mausoleum, I cannot be buried, otherwise I'll be dragged to hell, where the piles upon piles of bones down there are piled to the ceiling heights of hell, once every piece of flesh has been torn off them and eaten. So I'm walking down the ravine, and it only takes like 5 minutes, but I pass a couple of hikers. Yep, how you doing? The usual greeting to a stranger. I get down to the bottom, and then I decide that I don't want to walk further down. I want to head off into the bottom of the ravine, and kind of disappear into the dense brush. And I take my backpack off. I put it on the ground. I sit on the backpack, and I look around, and the clouds part, and the sun is radiant in a way that's heartwarming, and it feels good. It feels really good. And I'm still kind of hurting from a couple of nights ago, from all the psychological abuse and all the torment and the lack of sleep, and but I just try to cache those memories. And I just keep on chugging. And what I'm about to witness is God working through me, Lord God Creator, who will give me a sign to remember that I was divine, and that I did have this supernatural glycerine on the inside that was as powerfully charged and powerfully potent. And in an instant, I felt this urge simply just to charge up and infuse light in my surroundings from the ground up. And in that moment, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, deep within me, I felt this urge, and the trees and the bushes around me became infused with light, leaving tiny little specks of granules just kind of shimmering in the sunlight. And it happened quite suddenly, and it left my immediate surroundings all kind of radiant and glowing and sparkly. So that was a sign that God gave to me about my divinity and what I had within me. Well, a small nugget of what I had within me. I mean, if I was a neutron bomb, I could probably take out a town village with light, if I was to blow myself up. So I'm not going to do that. There's no point now. But anyway, so I felt validated that that God had given me this sign, and I mean, I knew I was different. I knew I'd always thought differently to other people, and it didn't really matter that anyone saw that. That was just between me and my Creator. And what does it matter if no one saw it? I mean, faith is between about you and your Creator, you and your personal, and you and your higher power, you and your God, your overself. And if you're not getting validated and rewarded with these types of moments, you're not going to be cherishing these things that you're going to try and hold on to later in life. So, what is the point in true belief? I mean, true belief in the divine is rare, but if it's not coupled with a greater good, how can you ensure that you're divine, that your belief is pure? If you're constantly trying to satisfy your own desires, self-fulfilling your own lustful energies, or whatever you're chasing, like, if it doesn't give your life meaning and purpose for a greater good that God would want you to answer, if it was a calling, then why are you here? So I had a couple of joints, and I've been intruded upon by something massive that had been lowered out of the sky, hovering over the canopy of the trees. I'm not too sure what it was, but it was making some quite loud noises. It wasn't an animal or animalistic in any sense, but I decided to go bush bashing up the escarpment. And it had like a stair kind of layered effect to the terrain, which really was basic. And it really did kind of tell me that if this hasn't been properly landscaped like this, which I don't think it had. I think it had just been manifested by some Solaris terraforming equipment, because that was a very peculiar thing I saw that day, because it just didn't make sense that the land would be shaped like one layer, another layer, another layer, and it just said, you look around and you go, where the am I? What am I doing here? Maybe it was just landscaped that way when they built the freeway to make sure there's no landslides. But I stopped about halfway up to have a can of tuna for lunch and to drink my Coke Zero. And I was kind of hoping that I could get out of trouble today. But little did I know, my whole world would come crashing down in a matter of moments. And one of my consorts at the time, who was part of my inner kingdom, who would it's like my whole world just ceased to exist. Yeah, I was vaporized. I was literally vaporized by some serious technology. So I got up to the highway after climbing up an escarpment. This layered escarpment. Got to the highway. I saw my car. That it had gotten quite dark. It looked like it was going to rain. And I quickly began walking towards my car. And then I heard a voice in my head of an insidious, dark, rebel angel to stay on this path. And I wish I would stop listening to that guy and start doing the opposite of everything he says, because in a matter of moments I would walk through an electromagnetic field that was supercharged, and it was simply, as I stepped into it, like my supernatural spiritual self would just be erased as I stepped through it. And I saw something as soon as my my vision crossed over into the other side, I could see a man sitting down on some chair next to a bunch of equipment that seemed to be some type of trailer or something you tow around on the back of a bull bar. Not a bull bar, a tow bar. And he was holographic. He was lit, and he was smiling at me. Yeah, great. End of the world, man. Top stuff. Great work. Great work. How much you get paid? Can I have a cut? Bit of that? Get to my GoFundMe site. Thank you. All for a story. All for a stupid story. And I felt hollow, I felt empty, and I said I have to get out of here before I collapse. Like I was literally going to collapse on the side of the road if I didn't get home soon or to my car. And I got into my car and I looked around and I saw Nicole Kidman coming down to earth, collapsing in front of me, part of my inner world that had now been sacked. And I didn't know what to do. She said something to me, and it didn't really translate, but I heard she was speaking the truth that day. So I'm in the car. I've seen a coal collapsing to the ground, dissolving into the land, and all the angelic light that was in me, and the inner workings of my being began to fall and dissipate around me. So as I knew that, I knew I had to get back home. Within 2 minutes I was at home, and this falling sensation it didn't stop. My world was a complete free fall. So you can see all these different parts of me falling to the ground. A three-seater couch falls to the ground. With some relatives with their backs to me. Who are you? No clue. Don't talk to me. It's your fault. And I had to sit down, and I sat down on the bottom step of our stairway that leads into our house, and I just tried just to not collapse. I was so drained of energy, so without any type of internal power. Like it was shocking. Would this go on in Stalinist Russia? These types of experiments have obviously been perfected for the supernatural being. That's why it happened to me. Obviously this was a hit. And it wouldn't have stopped unless I left there and didn't leave the house at all. I mean, they can get people walking down the sidewalk, but it has to be inconspicuous. I was on a Pacific Highway, a remote area in Sydney, so they got away with it. But I was also in Red Dawn. I was also in a land where they hate my kind of people. And I remember listening to people talk, but days later, about the conversation between police and myself, and here, if they knew that I was not going to collapse after passing through that field, they wouldn't have done it anyway, because they realized that I'm more flesh, blood, and bone. I'm more human than people think, and that scares them. Divine right. Humans are a miracle in progress. Well, my inner kingdom has fallen, and I lay in spiritual destitution, all for some story that the Pope can tell his subordinates. Before they blow him off. Days later, he's on the 6th of December. I'm at the backyard, stupefied at my situation, physically still in pain from how my body has kind of morphed and kind of been subjected to this kind of spiritual torture of having been subjugated by some type of external outside influence, which is now working on the outside in. I'm sitting on the back deck, and the sun is going down, sunset, and I see something over the pool fence, a light, a bluish light, just kind of becoming brighter, then dimmer, and go out, and come switch back on, bright, dim, dark, bright again, dimmer, darker, bright again. And this bluish light would do this on this dead branch tree. This light would beat on a dead branch. That's me.